The gentleman from Michigan, Mr. Huizenga, is now recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and Chair Powell, I appreciate this opportunity. I'm actually going to pick up on what my colleague from Florida was just talking about and add that to what my colleague from Missouri next to me here was talking about. And I'm going to, you may have said that the 40-20-20-20 ratio that came from Douglas Holtz-Aiken, breaking that down, about 40% of inflation being tied to monetary policy and spending, 20% to regs, 20% energy policy, 20% supply chain. You might disagree with that, is what you had said, but do you believe that spending has contributed to the situation of high inflation that we are in?
Okay, thank you.
So I may have misunderstood what your colleague said about.
Madam Chair, I ask that you suspend. I think Mr. Lawson has his microphone on yet, and we're getting a little crosstalk. So if we can maybe add a few seconds back here.
They have to say.
Okay,
right.
is the gentleman muted now?
Quick back.
No, clearly is not.
I think you can resume.
Okay, I'm just like to would ask that you have a light gavel at the end of my time here. I think we were having a little
Yes.
crosstalk, so we have
Yes.
to go back on that.
So I may have misunderstood. I thought that the 40% was money supply, but you made it sound more like a monetary policy. And so I would look. I mean, look, we can discuss those numbers, but that makes more sense to me.
Point being, has spending contributed to inflation?
Yes, I think a number of factors have,
Okay.
including fiscal policy.
And I would agree with that. And you know, frankly, many of us have sort of warned or talked about this situation. We have record debt right now, previously without conflict. Now, war and rumors of war that we hope aren't going to happen may even increase that debt. And I'm afraid that our spending habits are putting you and all policy decision makers in an even tighter box. Look, we all know that inflation is real. It's hitting, whether it's gas, $3.79 versus $2.74 a year ago, groceries, you name it, housing. And when you were here in July, I talked about the housing situation. My family's in construction. And what that means. And we can't just magically wave a wand and say, oh, we're going to lower prices. That just simply isn't realistic. But what I heard last night is that the president is acknowledging people are living paycheck to paycheck, and he understands that. Yet the message I keep hearing from the president and my friends on the other side of the aisle is we need to spend even more. And I'm concerned that is going to put us, again, into an even tighter box than we currently are. If you care to touch on that before I move on.
I should stay away from fiscal policy if you don't
Well,
mind.
and look, I'm not asking whether you support a particular bill or not. Theoretically, we're your classroom. America's your classroom as they're watching this right now. Spending is a contributing factor to inflation, correct?
It is, but it's not really our job and not ours to comment on. We do have a role here, and we need to do it.
Fully understand that. I just the facts. That's all right. So I'm going to move on to another issue, which is rules-based approach to monetary policy. In the 114th Congress, I think it was in 2015, I introduced the FORM Act, which would lay out a rules-based monetary policy. And I know in your testimony today indicated that a rate increase is expected, and you confirmed that with the ranking member. So what I'm curious, though, is since 2017, the Fed's monetary policy report included a section on monetary policy rules. And you've been very clear, and now Secretary Yellen has been clear that a lot of rules are modeled and looked at. The only exception to this was 2020, the first year of the pandemic, and maybe more surprisingly, the report that was just released this month. For example, in 2017, monetary policy rules section of the report stated, quote, monetary policymakers consider a wide range of information on current economic conditions. It's not included in this report. Can you shed some light on why it was omitted this year?
I honestly didn't know if that was the case, or if someone talked to me about this before the thing was printed and sent up here. I don't remember it. That's also a real possibility, given the number of things I have on my mind right now. But you know, as you say, we didn't have it in July of 20. We'll have it in the next one. I don't think there was no big thought, as far as I know, going into that. It's just sometimes we include it, sometimes we don't. I will say that I think thinking about policy through rules is something that I learned a lot about monetary policy doing that. When you're actually implementing policy, no committee has ever really used policy rules as a way of setting policy, but they use them to inform your thinking.
Yes, and I guess my idea with the FORM Act was to then inform the market, and that includes us as citizens as well. And I'd like this committee to re-examine that. So I appreciate the indulgence, Madam Chair, as we had that crosstalk at the beginning, and I yield back.